All right, everybody. Good afternoon. Victory Monday rolls on, and you guys know what we do on Victory Monday or any Monday after a Seahawks game. We talk about snap counts. We go through Snap Count Monday, see who played, see how much they played. Helps kind of frame the entire week of talking about the game that just went down. And we got some pretty good data this week overall from the snap counts. I got it from a Pro Football Focus this week because the typical X account that does daily snap counts for every NFL game stops in the postseason. But yeah, we got the same data. We got the data we needed for the conference championship game. So we're going to start with the offense. We're going to swing to the defense later in this video. You guys know the drill by now. And let's start things off with the offense. 67 snaps, obviously a cursed number, but also a pretty good number of snaps. All right, everybody, before we go any further into the video, I want to take a minute to tell you guys about a wonderful app called Sleeper, a one-stop shop for all your sports needs. You can celebrate and chat about sports in real time with other users. You can get all kinds of scores, sports news, and sports alerts with blazing fast speed. And of course, you can play in fantasy leagues and win real money on picks contests. So enjoy sports with other people in a community. Download the Sleeper app today and remember to use the promo code SBN, that is SBN, for up to $100 match on your first deposit. And they also have a free $20 entry right now, no deposit required, so pair those two up. Terms and conditions do apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states and growing. Check out the Sleeper app and have fun with sports this year. All right, so 67, pretty strong number, a little bit better than average. Not our best this year, but definitely workable, definitely enough to feel pretty good about the way the team played on Sunday. How those snaps were divvied up. Let's start with the running backs. Ken Walker obviously carries the load with 42 snaps, but Holani got a significant amount of work, and you'll notice that basically nobody else got in there. It was the Walker and Holani show. Holani had to take about a third of the snaps, and he did fairly well. I thought he did a good job in pass protection. I thought he did a pretty good job as a receiver out of the backfield. Can't ask for much more from a guy who hasn't played in a couple months. Can't ask for much more from a guy who isn't a overly experienced NFL player. He had one of his best games in a conference championship game in my book. Cam Akers did have one snap, never touched the ball. Not much to say there. Did not need the Cam Akers revenge game as it turned out. Did fine without him. Okay, so wide receivers now, pretty straightforward. JSN plays 55 snaps, so still nowhere near the whole game. Still doing a pretty good job not letting JSN overexhaust himself, and he's able to make plays at the end of the game to help salt things away. Made a couple of nice catches near the end to help put the win to bed. 52 for Cooper Kupp, who had a very clutch game, not a monstrous game in terms of stats, but he's there when you need him, and he was there for us when we needed him multiple times last night. Rashid Shaheed played about half the game, and I guess that's just going to be kind of the modus operandi for this team right now. They don't use a lot of receivers anyway, and Shaheed gets to kind of preserve himself for special teams. Not so much last night because they never let him return anything almost, but 38 snaps on 67 total is slightly more than half, and that's just going to be where we live, I guess. Jake Bobo, 13 snaps, so actually playing a non-trivial amount over these last couple of weeks and making the most of his opportunities. Two big catches across those games. Derek Young got out there for one snap, not sure when it happened, not sure why it happened, but not much to say. Obviously, he's something of an afterthought with this offense right now because we don't use receivers very much, and the addition of Shaheed really made players like Derek Young not have a place. So not much to say there. Tight end, A.J. Barner played basically the whole game, more so than maybe any other game this year, 64 out of 67. That's about as good as it gets, man. 64 out of 67. I know he didn't do a ton out there necessarily. Technically, he had the fumble, which in my mind shouldn't even really count as a fumble because he was out of bounds when he fumbled, but whatever. 64 snaps as a second-year tight end, and for him to hold up in blocking the way that he did, very good work. Eric Saubert played more than half the game, 38 snaps, so we went tight end heavy this one, and it panned out. Saubert, I thought, played a fine game as well, but you can see that we've really found something there with the way the offensive line plays. Nick Collar up 7 snaps, just a couple of scattered bits here and there. Brady Russell 1 snap. So one thing that we did that I think was probably good when we lost, I'm sorry, Robbie Oots for this game. We didn't go, okay, Brady Russell's going to play 20 snaps as a fullback in this game. We recognized that Brady Russell is not a great player, not really a guy that we can depend on to give us great fullback snaps. So we're going to ride our non-I formation offense as much as we can, and it looks like it worked to me. Found different ways. Offensive line, very simple this week. Everybody played the whole game. All the starters made it through clean 67 snaps each. I know that McDonald already said that Cross is going to be sore coming out of that game, which makes sense. He barely practiced last week, but he made it through clean, and he played a pretty good game, and I got no complaints. I got no issue there, so pretty darn good. Pretty good data from the offense here. As always, I think the defense is the more intriguing side, so we're going to flip over there now. But overall, good game from the offense. Things made sense. I think things were done in the right way, and I'm happy to report that it was enough to get us the win that we needed. Okay, now we go over to the defensive side of the ball. 61 snaps, which, I mean, that's a pretty good number. What I will say is a big reason why it was only 61 is because we allowed so many chunk plays defensively that the Rams were able to move down the field and score fast. And you can kind of see that's why it's not always a bad thing to give up chunk plays. At least you fail fast and you get the ball to your offense back quickly. But I'm not going to sit here and say it was because they played great that they only played 61 snaps. Like the previous week, they played 59, but they played basically perfect football. This week was different. But you kind of saw the wisdom of giving up big plays and letting the other team score quickly sometimes. At least you're not on the field for 80 plus plays. So in a way, it kind of worked out. I'm not going to act like I want to see that every week, but hey, 61 snaps. Maybe that left them something in the gas tank for that last drive, those last couple plays. I don't know. But anyway, defensive line, you got Leonard Williams with 52 snaps, so he played a lot, and he played pretty good. I'm not going to say he was dominant or anything like that, but he held up. He did his thing. Not his best game, but you can see that the fact that we paced him pretty well during the regular season, just over 800 snaps on the regular season, it's allowing him to play 50 snaps in a playoff game like this and not get completely wiped out. Byron Murphy, 37 snaps. And yeah, this is the moment where you lean on your studs. So makes sense. Jaron Reed gets in there with a good rotation, 31 snaps. I would not have mind seeing that number going a little lower. I think maybe you could have gone more to Murphy and less to Reed and just rode your studs, but they do need to rotate in and out. I understand that, and it worked out okay. I'm not going to say it worked out great, but it worked out okay, and you can see we did not really have to give any meaningful snaps to the backups. Guys like Peely and Mills barely played. 5 for Peely, 1 for Mills. I'm not going to be against that. I think that's probably the right way to play this, and I'm happy they were able to make it through the game without leaning too heavily on a guy like Peely, who I don't dislike Peely, but he's done nothing to make me trust him so far this year. He's just a guy. Linebacker. Ernest Jones plays the whole game, 61 snaps. Makes sense. Drake Thomas played most of the game or more than half of the game, but then he got hurt. And then we saw a good amount of Tyrese Knight at the end of this game. And by the way, Tyrese Knight made some nice plays out there and actually did really well. We might not be here right now without him. So shout out Tyrese Knight for being ready to go in the in the depth chart on the bench off the sideline. Very nice stuff. He seems like he's kind of gotten past the injury issue that was bugging him earlier this year. And I thought that he was an important part of this team coming up with that last minute stop. So hopefully Drake Thomas is okay. But shout out Tyrese Knight. Edge rusher, it's getting a little bit rough here. Okay. It's getting a little bit rough. First of all, most of our edge rushers did nothing last night. Just straight up, most of our edge rushers gave us nothing. But the thing is, you got Uchenna Nwosu playing 30 snaps, not even half the game. Boye Mafe, 20 snaps, not even a third of the game. Derek Hall, 26 snaps. These guys are not playing enough to justify their lack of snap-to-snap production. You got to get us something, man. We're getting so little from these guys right now, and we'll talk about this more later during the Pro Football Focus videos I'm going to make, but you are rotating pretty cleanly here. You are getting a good amount of reps on the sideline to rest. You are not being asked to play, 45, 50, 55 snaps the way some of the edge rushers were in the Pete Carroll era, and we're still getting nothing out of you. The only edge rusher that played a lot of this game was DeMarcus Lawrence. He played about 3/4 of the game, and he was the only guy who was really doing anything out there. And I'm not saying he played a great game, but he played the best game of these three, and he's the old guy. You can see the edge rusher room really falling apart here. And look, Nwosu, his body's probably breaking down. Mafe is just probably not that good. It is what it is. Derek Hall, I'm kind of disappointed in because I was pretty impressed with him for the most part this season. I thought he was really showing improvement as a player. And here we are now. Like, I know he's under contract next year. I'm sure he's going to be here. But how much can we depend on him in 2026? We haven't really seen much from him yet that intrigues me. There's not much to say right now. Like D-Law at 34 years old or whatever, I think it's 34, 45 snaps in a game like this, that should not really be happening. So they got some work to do there. Cornerback, Witherspoon played every snap except for one. Not sure what the one snap was that he missed. Woolen played basically the whole game, 52 snaps, did come out for a handful. I don't think he missed any plays because of punishment for the penalty. I think he was just kind of normally being rotated in and out. And as frustrated as I think most of us are with him right now, he is one of our best players, and he does need to be put out there in moments like this as much as humanly possible. So I'm hoping that he plays every snap in the Super Bowl, and then in the offseason we can make a decision there, which at this point I'm ready to move on, especially with how much money I know it's going to cost. But we got to ride him while we have him. And Josh Jobe actually did not play that much in that game. So that's one thing I do want to point out today. A lot of people are really down on Jobe because he gave up some big plays in that game, and he did. We are trying to minimize his role. I would say we could probably do a little bit more to minimize it. And I think it needs to be understood that he is going to be out there occasionally, and that's okay. He's not a terrible player, but maybe we could do a little bit more here. But he's already playing 24 snaps out of 61. That's not that much. That's less than 40%. All right, safety, we got Julian Love playing every snap, 61. Kobe Bryant played every snap except for 2. Not sure when he missed those 2 snaps. And Nick Emanwari played every snap except for 3. And he was our one true standout defender, so shout out to him. He's the only guy who made big plays in my mind on defense repeatedly in that game. And Okada played 2 snaps, replacing Kobe Bryant for those 2 plays. Again, not sure when those 2 plays were, but looks like we're rocking and rolling with Julian Love and Kobe Bryant as our starting safeties for the Super Bowl. It looks like we've locked in. All right, that's it for Snap Count Monday. Let me know what you guys think. Conference Championship Snap Count Monday, pretty good, but there are some concerning signs. We got to make it one more game with this edge group, and then we got to turn it over a little bit this offseason because you're not really supposed to have an elite defense with an edge rusher room this unreliable. And we're going to have to do better next season if we want to keep this up. All right. See you guys later. Go Hawks. More videos coming soon. But that is your Snap Count Monday.